Hello and welcome to Inside Iraq. I'm Jassim Azzawi. In 2006, the Awakening Councils turned the tide against Al-Qaeda and became the linchpin of the U.S. counterinsurgency strategy in Iraq. Their enormous contribution to reducing violence ensured the success of the surge. Today, they find themselves marginalized and hunted down by Iraqi security forces, Al-Qaeda, and agents of Iran. Only the Americans are now providing them with protection and financial support. Concerned American generals warn, unless members of the Awakenings are integrated into Iraqi forces, it is only a matter of time before this huge force will turn against al-Maliki's government, especially when U.S. forces are withdrawn and money dries up.
This was perhaps the defining moment for the movement known as the Sawa, or the Awakening Council.
Thank you, please.
The American president visited Iraq's Anbar province in September last year to acknowledge the role of Arab Sunni tribal leaders in the fight against Al-Qaeda. But just days after meeting President Bush, its charismatic leader, Sheikh Abdul Fattah Abu Risha, was killed by Al-Qaeda militants on his own turf in Anbar. It was Al-Qaeda's direct response and warning to Iraqis who support the US, as it launched a campaign of killings against Awakening Council members. However, Al-Qaeda's tactics to antagonize locals failed to dampen support of the Awakening movement. But Prime Minister Nouri al-Maliki has persistently rejected American pressure to integrate Awakening members into the Iraqi security forces. He claims the group has been infiltrated by insurgents from both the Ba'ath Party and Al-Qaeda. The US military has warned that members of the Awakening Council may be pushed to rejoin the insurgency if they are continuously alienated.
Well, the Americans are concerned because they don't want to see their success eroded overnight by disbanding these militias or stop paying them. Also, it's quite a delicate moment in that the Americans are on the point of signing, if they haven't signed already, a status of forces agreement.
Critics, however, say the Iraqi government's real worry is the increasing political ambitions of Awakening Council members who now want power-sharing deals to run the country.
There's no doubt that the Awakening Council have felt the power which comes from the gun, and they want to translate this into some sort of political influence. And this worries not only, and obviously, the Shia-dominated government, but also, I think, the Sunni bloc themselves, who see that they are the legitimate Sunni representatives, and they don't like the idea of a less legitimate militia force moving in and usurping their place.
Recently, despite the risk of reigniting sectarian war, Prime Minister al-Maliki ordered the arrest of hundreds of Awakening Council leaders. Some observers believe that this latest crackdown is justified as a counterbalance to al-Maliki's move against the Shia-backed Mahdi army in April this year. But others warn that there could be a backlash to the crackdown, as it may encourage members of the Awakening Council to return to the insurgency, something that Al-Qaeda would be likely to welcome and exploit.
To discuss the rise and fall of the Awakening Councils and what the future holds for this organization, I'm delighted to be joined from Baghdad by Mithal al-Alusi, leader of the Iraqi Nation Party, and from New York City by author and journalist Neil Rosen. Welcome to Inside Iraq. Mr. al-Alusi, let us go to the very heart of this issue. Why does al-Maliki's government refuse to integrate Majalis al-Sahwa, or the Awakening Councils, into Iraqi security forces?
Well, first of all, I have to say Maliki, he did change many from his position. Now al-Sahwa, they have been informed that he will be positive taking the fire of al-Sahwa. But let me tell you, with al-Sahwa, we have a start to have a solution for our big security complex. The Sahwa people, they have facing Al-Qaeda in very hard fight, and they gave us the situation which we have it now, or they are so important element in it. Al-Maliki, and there is others, Shi'i Islamic parties, Iran is for sure behind it also, because the Iranian embassy, they have tried to pay money to some of the Sahwa to buy them, to have them as activists for the Iranian agenda. So there is a huge pressure on Maliki and the government. And you know, there is parties, they feel now they can do everything, and one day we have now a new element in the Iraqi policy, and this is why the reason behind not just Maliki, there is many parties, even the Sunni Islamic parties, they are not so happy with al-Sahwa to be part of the political process.
Neil Rosen, you know the Al-Sahwa people, awakening councils very well. When the majority, if not all of the Western journalists were prisoners of the Green Zone, you yourself, you were running around for days and weeks in the Anbar and other places in Fallujah at the risk of your life. You know exactly their composition, their attitude, their policy. Let me put it to you directly. If not integrated and rewarded, will they turn against the Iraqi government?
I think many of them will. Many of them joined the Sahwa groups. Explicitly, they said, because they want to fight the so-called Iranian occupation of Iraq. And they view the Iraqi government, which is dominated, of course, by sectarian Shia forces, as an Iranian government, as an Iranian occupation, whether that's true or not. And they have, unlike some of the Sunni parties, they have genuine grassroots support among the Sunni population, because they did defend Sunni neighborhoods from Shia militias, from Americans, from Al-Qaeda. They did even provide services in many cases, as I saw in Amriya. And they also feel persecuted by the Iraqi government. They've been targeted, people have been arrested, they have not been integrated into the Iraqi government. And in some cases, like in Dora recently, we see when Shias try to return to neighborhoods controlled by Sahwa groups, that they get killed or threatened. So this is certainly more of a civil war waiting to happen.
The Iraqi government says we cannot accept all those people. They have taken something like, I don't know, about 20%. The remainder, they are promised of some civilian jobs. By the same token, the previous government of Al-Ja'fari and even Ayad Allawi, they integrated many of the sectarian militias, which now some of them, they have become a death squad, raining havoc and terror in most of Iraq. So why the sectarian militias were integrated, but the awakening councils are being rejected?
Well, also at the same time, Maliki government, they are so active against Jam Mahdi army in Iraq. So we have the problem now, the Interior Ministry, we need to clean the system. We have now more than 460,000 in the Interior Ministry, and we have about 230 in the Defense Ministry. That means we have 30% from the employer in the Iraqi government. They are in those both ministries. So the best solution is to go in the economic. The best solution is to clean the Interior Ministry. So I cannot, or we do believe we cannot answer the militia.
The Interior Ministry is penetrated by Faylaq Badr, by Jam, by other killers, by death squads. You know exactly what happened in Diyala just as recently. The deputy governor, groups that claims that is tied to the Al-Maliki's office came, kidnapped the president of a university and killed the deputy governor.
Yes, I agree with you. Your information is really correct. But this is the questions. Shall we answer having the militia in the interior or the security forces to have now Al-Sahwa? I think the answer is to clean the institution and try to start to have a real professional institution. To say that we will have a civil war, I think this is not a real position. This is not the case. The issues going in very positive progress, and we are so confident that the main problem in Iraq is the parties who they believe they have the right to control everybody, to continue in controlling the democratic process, and it cannot be truth. That's why you feel that they are against the election, which we need to have it very soon, very quick. So it's a big, huge complex. Al-Sahwa people, there is many good people in it. We have to include them in the system. We have to help them in the economic, but also there is some killers which nobody can give them any kind of cover about what they have done against the Iraqi human being.
Neil Rosen, in a recent interview, the top U.S. military commander, David Petraeus, warned that this security improvement we are seeing in Iraq is very fragile. It could very easily lapse into another period of chaos. And he mentioned that one of the reasons for this improved security is Al-Sahwa. Now Al-Sahwa, they are being paid by the Americans, some of them $300, some of them perhaps $1,200. Their future is tied to the presence of the Americans. The Americans intend to leave next year. What will happen to them, especially when the money dries up?
Well, I think money was never the primary motivation. It's important to stress that the Americans always thought that it's all about the money. And if the people join militias or join the resistance because of the money, the primary motivation was ideological. They were there to protect Sunnis, they felt, from persecution, whether by Americans or by the Iraqi state or Shia militias. I think that it's quite clear. The Iraqi government has declared that they'll have to find alternative sources of employment. They can be plumbers or there are other kinds of job creation schemes that will be devised, and of course they won't take them. They feel very strongly, many of the Sahwa members, in what they do. They feel very patriotic. Yes, some belong to Al-Qaeda. Yes, of course, most belong to the resistance. They were attacking the Americans. They were also involved in the Civil War when at its peak. I think that we'll see many of them returning to arms, and even if it's only a fraction, you have 100,000 of these men.
Could they go back to insurgency and tie up with the Baathists again?
Well, it doesn't have to be the Baathists, but certainly they have weapons, they have training, they have an organization, they have popularity in their neighborhoods, which they now control and protect. And they have this ideological belief, of course, that they deserve to have some power, maybe all the power, depends who you talk to, and that they're being persecuted. I spoke to many of them in various parts of Baghdad and the Anbar, and they did say that if they feel targeted again, they would once again join the resistance. Many said they never abandoned the resistance. It's a tactical move. First we fight the Iranian occupation, then we fight the American occupation. So I think for many of them, they never gave up the resistance in the first place. This is just a former, wait for the Americans to leave, because they're the real power in the country, and then we can fight it out ourselves and try to combat this weaker Iraqi government.
Nir Rosen and Mithal Alusi, I will take a short break now, but when I come back, I'm going to ask Mithal Alusi whether the Americans, they have created another militia. Stay with us.
We have intelligence information that the Ba'ath Party and Al-Qaeda have ordered their members to infiltrate the awakening councils. Nouri al-Maliki, Iraqi Prime Minister.